Hi and welcome, Lisa here for Trinity Stamps. Thanks for joining me for another card video. So today I'm showing you how I like to use a bunch of different products to create a unique card. In this video, I'm using the Candy Jar Stamps and Dies, Puddle Jumper Stamps and Dies, the Magical Sentiments, some stencils, some of the little embellishment jelly beans, just the whole kitchen sink we have in here. We're jumping straight into this. The first thing I want to do is create a background for my card. I'm using the new Slimline Stripe stencil. I'm adding tick marks so I can place a piece of purple tape to protect the bottom of the cardstock while I'm stenciling the top part. Now, once I have everything laid down, I'm going to grab a blender buddy and my Memento Angel Pink and Rosebud inks. Now, I'm starting with the darker pink, which is the Rosebud, and I'm going to lay that down with the stencil. So you'll see that I'm pushing and pulling that blender buddy instead of working in a circular motion. If I'd have used pixie spray, I would be able just to go at it, but I didn't. I'm doing this really quick and I just decided that tape would work and I could just push and pull the brush instead of working in that circular motion. So that's all I'm doing here is applying the darker ink first. And the reason that I'm doing this is because I can take the lighter ink and go over the whole area instead of stenciling. And I just thought it would be a little bit easier that way. So a little backstory real quick with this. If you've ever been to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter and you've gone in Honeydukes, you've probably seen the packaging for some of their candies and some of their products. And it's stripes, pinks and mint green. Now the top part of the box will be pinks striped and then the bottom part of the box will be a mint green. And that's what I was seeing in my mind's eye for this card was using those colors and the stripes and the mint green on the bottom for my background. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish applying this rosebud ink, and then I'm going to come in with the angel pink ink to finish this off. So because the angel pink ink is so much lighter than the rosebud ink, I am just going over the entire panel with the angel pink. So it makes it a little bit easier. You don't have to try to stencil two different colors by doing it this way. And it worked out perfect because this is exactly the look that I was going for. So now that I have the top done, I'm going to go ahead and finish up the bottom. And I decided that a direct to paper would be the quickest way for me to ink up this bottom portion because I wanted it to be, a solid mint color. And I felt like ink blending it was keeping it too light. So I just took the ink pad straight to the paper and colored the whole section in. And my background's done. So we're just going to set that background to the side for now, and we're going to go ahead and stamp one of the jars. Now, off screen, I went ahead and I die cut a bunch of the jars. We'll get into that in just a few minutes. So I'm just going to take one of the ones that I went ahead and die cut and use my Memento Tuxedo black ink and stamp it. Then I'm going to use the coordinating stencil. Did you know there was a coordinating stencil for this jar? And I'm going to use a blender buddy and some summer sky ink. This is Memento ink to add some details to the jar. I'm not going to worry about coloring it or anything like that. I'm just going to stencil over it. So I stenciled one side. I'm cleaning my stencil off. I'm going to flip that stencil over and go ahead and add details to the other side. So you can see I have all of those die cut pieces laying there. And I'm going to go ahead and start stacking these one on top of the other. So what I did was I went ahead and die cut about 15 of these jars. And it doesn't take much paper to do this. You can get 3 jars out of one 8.5-inch wide by 5.5-inch high piece of paper. So not much paper at all to do this. Now, like you can use mounting foam. The sides of the jar are kind of thin, so I've used mounting foam on it before and it's doable. But I thought this time I would just try it this way and see what I thought of it. And I actually like it this way. It's a little bit of work. You have to do some die cutting, but in the end, I really like the way that the sturdiness of the jar when you die cut them and stack them. Now, I'm using jelly beans inside of this. So if you were using sequins, you would not need to die cut that many jars. But the jelly beans are thicker, and I needed the room to so that they could move around. That's why I had to go with so many. So here you can see what it looks like. Our jar has the piece of acetate sandwiched between two of those die cut pieces. I've also have another piece of acetate that I've placed for the back because I want you to be able to see through the jar. So I cut 15 of the jars out of heavy cardstock, and then I cut 2 using acetate. So I'm just going to go ahead now and stack all of these together, and then we'll be ready to go ahead and put our shaker together. So now that I have this shaker, I have the majority of the shaker put together. I'm going to show you what this is going to look like. I'm going to dump some of my jelly beans in here, and then I'm going to lay the top of the shaker over this so you'll get a feel for what we're going for here. So there we go. That's what we're aiming for there. So you can still see through that shaker. Now, here's the thing with the jelly beans. If you've ever seen Bertie Bott beans from Harry Potter, they are not colored like the ones you see there on the screen. They actually have, some of them have like some little spots of different colors on them. Like there'll be a yellow bean with red spots on it, just different colors. So what I did was I took my alcohol markers and I just started dabbing ink onto the beans, and it toned down the color some because the Bertie Bott beans are not bright like this. They're a little bit darker looking. So it toned that brightness down. Plus it gave me the spots that I wanted because I really wanted this to be as close to realistic as I could get it. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just taking my markers and dabbing on some ink to give me that spotted look on those jelly beans. So once we finish putting the top of the shaker on, we're just going to go ahead and set it aside and let it dry completely. And we're going to continue to work on a couple of other elements for our card. So since this is a Harry Potter card and we're at Honeydukes, we are actually going to do some chocolate frogs to go with this card. Now, when I saw the Puddle Jumper stamp set, I was like, for sure, I need this because those frogs are so cute to start with, but they would be perfect for my card. So I went ahead and I stamped the frogs with rich cocoa ink, and I first of all thought I was going to use 3 different colors on this, but then once I started laying down the E25 color, I realized, you know what, this is enough. We don't need to get too complicated with the coloring on these. They're just going to be chocolate frogs, and that the E25 was perfect. So I just colored them with the one marker, and then I ran them through the die cut machine and cut those out. So to this point here, what I went ahead and did off screen, trying to keep this video to a minimum, I went ahead and used my liquid adhesive and adhered the background panel to a slimline card base. It's just a heavy 110-pound card base. And then I also used the liquid adhesive to go ahead and add my little shaker jar to the card also. So now I'm going to go ahead and decide on the sentiments that I want to use and stamp those, and then we'll start to wrap this card up. Okay, so I went ahead and I stamped the sentiments onto white cardstock with VersaFine Onyx Black ink. Now for the top sentiment, the main one, I stamped "There is magic inside us all" from the Magical Sentiment stamp set, and I used the coordinating die with that. Now at the bottom, I felt like there was a lot of open space, and I felt like I really needed to add something to really give it that Harry Potter vibe. So I added the sentiments from the Magical Sentiment set, "Trust in Harry" and "Ya Filthy Muggle," and I thought that really gave it the vibe that I needed. So I hope you enjoyed joining me. I hope you'll click that subscribe button and ring the bell to be notified of new content to the channel. Now, for more information on the products used, Please head over to the Trinity Stamps website. As always, the products will be linked below, and I hope you have an amazing day.